In a small but bustling town nestled in the heart of modern-day West Africa, there lived a spirited young girl named Adjoa. She was the kind of child who could light up any room with her laughter. Her voice carried like music through the narrow streets, and her curiosity knew no bounds. Whether it was climbing trees to pluck mangoes or sneaking into her grandmother's kitchen to steal bites of freshly baked bread, Ajoa was always on the move, bringing joy and mischief wherever she went. Her kindness endeared her to everyone in the community. Neighbors often remarked that she had a heart as big as the sky. Yet despite all her wonderful qualities, Ajoa had one peculiar habit that puzzled her family. She wet the bed every single night. At first, when Ajoa was just a toddler, her parents thought little of it. After all, many children struggled with nighttime accidents during their early years. But as months turned into years and Ajoa grew older without showing any signs of improvement, concern began to creep into their home. By the time she reached the age of 7, her nightly habit had become a source of frustration for her father, Quadwo, and a point of contention between him and her mother, Akosua. Quadwo was a stern man who believed firmly in discipline and hard work. To him, life was about structure, responsibility, and accountability. He saw Ajoa's inability to control herself at night not as an accident or a natural phase, but as something that needed immediate correction. "This is unacceptable," he would mutter under his breath after discovering yet another soaked mattress. A child her age should know better. Determined to put an end to Ajoa's habit, Quadwo tried everything he could think of. He scolded her gently at first, hoping that words alone might motivate her to change. When that didn't work, he became stricter, raising his voice and demanding explanations. "Why do you keep doing this?" he asked her one evening, holding up the damp sheets. "Don't you realize how much trouble this causes? Don't you care?" Ajoa, wide-eyed and trembling, could only stammer, "I'm sorry, Papa. I don't mean to." Unmoved by her tears, Quadwo decided to take more drastic measures. He bought special waterproof mats for her bed, hoping they would at least minimize the damage. He limited her water intake before bedtime, forcing her to drink less even if she complained of thirst. On several occasions, he woke her up in the middle of the night, dragging her groggy and half asleep to the bathroom. But no matter what he did, nothing seemed to work. Every morning the bed remained soaked, and Quadwo's frustration continued to mount. While Quadwo grew increasingly exasperated, Ajoa's mother, Akosua, took a completely different approach. Akosua was a gentle soul who believed in patience and understanding. She saw Ajoa's habit not as a flaw that required punishment, but as a temporary challenge that would resolve itself over time. "Leave the girl alone," Akosua would say whenever Quadwo expressed his anger. "She's still young. She'll grow out of it. You're making too much of this." "No," Quadwo snapped one evening after finding the bed soaked yet again. "This is not something we can ignore. It's unnatural for a child her age to still be doing this. If we don't act now, she'll never learn." But Akosua refused to budge. Whenever Quadwo raised his hand to flog Ajoa or reprimand her harshly, Akosua stepped in, shielding their daughter from his wrath. "Stop beating her," she shouted on more than one occasion. "You're only making things worse. She's just a child. She'll stop naturally as she grows older." Their arguments became a regular feature of their household. Quadwo accused Akosua of being too soft, while Akosua accused him of being too harsh. Each parent clung stubbornly to their own beliefs, unwilling to compromise. Frustrated and desperate, Quadwo eventually resorted to extreme measures. One day, unable to bear the humiliation of washing Ajoa's sheets every morning, he marched straight to her school and spoke to her teacher. "Tell everyone what my daughter has done," he instructed. Make sure all her classmates know that she wets the bed. Maybe if she feels shame, she will finally stop. When Ajoa returned home that evening, red-faced and tearful, Akosua confronted her husband furiously. How dare you humiliate our child like that, she screamed. What kind of father are you? You've shamed her in front of her friends. And for what? So you can feel better about yourself? The argument escalated into a full-blown fight, with neighbors gathering outside their house to witness the commotion. Voices rose, accusations flew, and tears flowed freely. Though the couple eventually reconciled, the tension between them lingered, casting a shadow over their household. Caught in the middle of her parents' constant battles, Ajoa felt confused and powerless. She loved both her father and her mother dearly, but their conflicting approaches left her unsure of whom to trust. On one hand, her father's strictness made her feel like a failure, a burden to her family. On the other hand, her mother's leniency offered comfort, but also reinforced the idea that she couldn't or shouldn't be expected to change. Despite the turmoil around her, Ajoa remained optimistic. Deep down, she believed her mother was right, that she would outgrow her habits someday. And so she continued to live her life as best she could, focusing on the things that brought her happiness, playing with her friends, helping her grandmother cook, and dreaming of the future. When Adjoa turned 25, she fell in love with Kofi, a kind and hard-working man from a neighboring village. The wedding day of Adjoa and Kofi had been a grand celebration, filled with vibrant colors, rhythmic drumming, laughter, and feasting. The entire community had gathered to witness the union of two families, and everyone wished the newlyweds happiness and prosperity. For Adjoa, it was a dream come true, a culmination of years of hope and longing for love and acceptance. On their wedding night, as the festivities died down and the couple retired to their marital bed, Kofi expected nothing more than a peaceful sleep beside his new bride. However, in the middle of the night, he woke up to an unsettling sensation. At first, he thought perhaps water had spilled onto the bed, but when he reached out to investigate, his hand touched something warm and damp. Pulling back the sheets, he discovered the unthinkable. Ajoa had urinated on the bed. Kofi froze, staring at the soaked mattress in disbelief. His mind raced with questions. How could this happen? Was it nerves? An accident? Or was this a recurring issue? He didn't say anything immediately, hoping against hope that it might have been a one-time occurrence brought on by the excitement of the day. But the next morning, when he found the bed wet again, his patience began to wear thin. By the third night, when the same thing happened yet again, Kofi's frustration boiled over into anger. "This is unacceptable," he shouted, holding up the damp sheets as evidence of what had transpired. "What kind of wife are you? A full-grown woman urinating on the bed? This is not normal." Ajoa burst into tears, her face flushed with shame. She stammered apologies, pleading with him to understand. "I'm sorry, Kofi," she cried. "I don't mean to do it. I promise I'll try harder." But Kofi was unmoved. "Try harder?" he snapped. "How long have you been doing this? Did your parents never teach you how to behave properly? This is not something I can live with." Furious and humiliated, Kofi made a decision that sent shockwaves through the household. The very next morning, he packed Ajoa's belongings and escorted her back to her parents' home. Alongside her, he carried the items that had been part of the bride price, the gifts and money exchanged during their engagement, as a sign that the marriage was being dissolved. When they arrived, the scene was chaotic. Akosua, Ajoa's mother, rushed to greet them, expecting news of happiness from the newlyweds. Instead, she was met with Kofi's cold demeanor and Ajoa's tear-streaked face. "What is the meaning of this?" Akosua demanded, looking between her daughter and son-in-law. "Why are you bringing my child back here?" Kofi wasted no time explaining. "Your daughter has disgraced me," he said bluntly. "She wets the bed every night. I cannot continue this marriage. Take her back and teach her how to behave like a proper woman." Akosua gasped, her hands flying to her mouth in horror. Kwadwo, Adjoa's father, appeared moments later, his expression darkening as he listened to Kofi's accusations. "Is this true?" he asked, turning to Adjoa. "Have you been doing this all along?" Adjoa nodded, unable to meet her father's gaze. Tears streamed down her cheeks as she whispered, "Yes, Papa. I've tried to stop, but I can't." Kwadwo clenched his fists, his frustration evident. "After all these years, after everything we've done, you still haven't learned?" he bellowed. "How could you embarrass us like this?" Akosua stepped forward, placing herself protectively in front of her daughter. "Enough!" she shouted at her husband. Then turning to Kofi, she pleaded, "Please give her another chance. She's young. She'll learn. We'll fix this, I promise." But Kofi shook his head firmly. "I gave her chances, many chances, yet she continues to do the same thing. I will not tolerate it any longer. If you want me to take her back, she must prove that she can change. Otherwise, our marriage is over." In the days that followed, the weight of Kofi's rejection settled heavily on the household. Akosua, in particular, was consumed by guilt and regret. She replayed every moment of Ajoa's childhood in her mind, recalling the times she had shielded her daughter from her father's discipline. Had her leniency been a mistake? Had she failed as a mother? One evening, sitting alone in her room, Akosua broke down in tears. She cried for her daughter, for the shame they had brought upon their family, and for the fractured relationship with her husband. "I should have been stricter," she whispered to herself. "I should have helped her overcome this sooner. Now look what's happened." Determined to make amends, Akosua vowed to stand by Ajoa and help her conquer her habit once and for all. She approached Kwadwo, who had been distant and angry since Kofi's visit, and begged him to work together for their daughter's sake. "We must fix this," she said earnestly. "We owe it to Adjoa and to ourselves. Let's put aside our differences and help her become the woman she's meant to be." Reluctantly, Kwadwo agreed. Together, they devised a strict plan to train Adjoa to control her bladder. Every night, Kwadwo set an alarm to wake her up at intervals, ensuring she used the bathroom before going back to sleep. During the day, Akosua taught her relaxation techniques and encouraged her to drink less water before bedtime. They also sought advice from elders in the community who shared traditional remedies and wisdom passed down through generations. Weeks turned into months, and slowly but surely, Ajoa began to show improvement. She started waking up naturally in the middle of the night to relieve herself, and the accidents became less frequent. By the end of 6 months, she had completely stopped wetting the bed. Feeling confident in her progress, Ajoa returned to Kofi's house, accompanied by her parents. They pleaded with him to give her one last chance, promising that she had changed and was now ready to fulfill her role as a wife. At first, Kofi hesitated. The memory of his humiliation still lingered, and he wasn't sure if he could trust Adjoa to keep her promise. But after much discussion and deliberation, he finally relented. "I'll give you one more chance," he told her sternly. "But if this happens again, our marriage will be over. Do you understand?" Ajoa nodded solemnly, tears welling up in her eyes. "Thank you, Kofi," she said softly. "I won't disappoint you." As Ajoa settled back into her life with Kofi, Akosua reflected on the lessons she had learned. She realized that her leniency, though born out of love, had ultimately harmed her daughter. Determined to ensure that history wouldn't repeat itself, she vowed to raise her future grandchildren with a balance of compassion and discipline. "I was wrong to coddle her," Akosua admitted to Kwadwo one evening, "but I'm glad we were able to help her in the end. Let's never let pride or stubbornness get in the way of doing what's best for our family." Kwadwo nodded, placing a comforting hand on her shoulder. "We've all made mistakes," he said gently. What matters is that we learn from them and move forward. After months of struggle, shame, and relentless effort, Adjoa was finally accepted back into her husband Kofi's home. She knew this was her last chance. If she repeated the same mistake, their marriage would be over for good. But deep down, Adjoa felt not only relief, but also a fierce determination never to repeat the mistakes of her past. Her journey had taught her the importance of discipline, patience, and responsibility. When Adjoa became a mother, her life changed in profound ways. She gave birth to two beautiful children, a boy named Kwame and a girl named Ama. From the moment they were born, Adjoa vowed never to repeat the errors her own mother had made. She remembered how her mother had been too lenient, allowing her to grow out of the problem instead of teaching her proper habits from an early age. Now as a mother herself, Adjoa resolved to strike a balance, firm but fair, loving but disciplined. From their earliest years, Adjoa ensured that her children learned the right habits. When Kwame turned 3, he occasionally began wetting the bed. Instead of ignoring it or excusing his behavior, as her mother had done with her, Adjoa immediately took action. "Remember, my child," she said gently but firmly one evening after discovering the damp sheets. "We all make mistakes as we grow. It's okay to stumble, but it's important to learn from them. You can do this. I believe in you." Every night, Adjoa woke Kwame at specific times to use the bathroom, just as her father had done for her. During the day, she taught him simple techniques to recognize when he needed to go. She praised him whenever he succeeded and comforted him when he failed, ensuring he never felt ashamed or discouraged. For Ama, Adjoa was equally vigilant. Knowing how embarrassing such a habit could be if left unchecked, she worked tirelessly to instill good routines in her daughter. By the time both children reached school age, neither had developed any issues with bedwetting, a testament to Adjoa's dedication and perseverance. Adjoa's marriage to Kofi grew stronger with time. Together, they built a life filled with love, understanding, and mutual respect. Their home became a place where discipline and compassion coexisted harmoniously, setting an example for future generations. As parents, how do we find the balance between showing compassion and enforcing discipline? How do we nurture them with patience while also challenging them to become the best version of themselves? Adjoa's journey reminds us that while love is essential, it's also important to teach our children the lessons they need to grow. I hope we all have learned our lesson from Adjoa's journey, that parenting is not about perfection, but about finding balance. It's about showing compassion, but also teaching responsibility. May we all strive to guide our children with both love and discipline, helping them overcome their struggles while ensuring they grow into the best versions of themselves. Hi everyone, I hope you all enjoyed the movie. If you did, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. It really helps to keep the content coming. Your support means the world, and it encourages me to keep bringing you more exciting videos. Make sure to hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Thanks so much for watching, and I can't wait to see you back here next time. Stay tuned for more amazing content, and let's continue this journey together.